Hello, theologisters, sisters, and misters. My name is Emma.
My name is Arthur, and welcome to the Coven.
So, we're kicking off our first episode in October.
You know, the spooky season, Halloween or All Hallows Eve, if you
I think
prefer
that
to
this
call
is,
it.
I think this is a really good time to kick off our very spooky podcast. So, I guess we'll just get into it. So, do you want to just give a little intro about yourself?
Oh, there's so much to talk about. Um, I suppose I could start off with my name's Arthur. I'm not a professional witch by any means. However, I am a witch. I'm not Wiccan. Um, I could define what those things are later on in the podcast, but for now, I'm going to say that I'm not Wiccan, I'm a witch, I'm not professional, um, and my opinions or my beliefs or the way that I view things or define things may not match up with yours.
Well, so yeah, and that's the whole thing with believer versus skeptic, which is going to be a reoccurring theme throughout all of our podcasts. Whereas I'm going to be taking on this role of more of the interviewer with more of a objective sense of my perceived reality.
And then I'll be giving you my perceived reality and what I believe to be real, and then we can discuss that and go back and forth on it and bat it around like a cat with a mouse.
So yeah, I mean that's the basic overview of what our podcasts are going to be about. Each episode is going to be going into a little bit more detail about Arthur and what his beliefs are, what he's experienced, and I think we're going to talk just a little bit about witchcraft today in general. Just start off something a little bit more broad that I'm sure lots of people have questions about, and maybe a lot of people practice it themselves.
And at some point during the many podcasts, we'll get into things that are not witchcraft, such as the supernatural. I've seen quite a few things, and I'd love to share them with you guys.
Yeah. So, that being said, so you definitely consider yourself on the believer side.
Absolutely. I don't know why I'd be on this podcast if I wasn't.
So, like, when it comes to, like spooky real stories or like people sharing their like ghost stories on YouTube and talking about like mediums and things like that, you tend to believe that those things are genuine.
False.
Okay.
I tend to believe they're genuine occasionally. I can get a feel for it if it's not genuine or if it's genuine, which is very hard for me to describe to you. Like what that feel is like. I had to describe what tarot cards feel like and magic feels like recently, and that was difficult. It went well though. Uh, so when it comes to talking about things that you've experienced or ghost stories and different ghost experiences, I tend to be a little bit skeptical about cameras.
Mm-hmm.
However, as you've seen in the past with me pointing out in that one video, there are a couple times where I'll go, hey, hang on a moment, and point something out. Um, but as far as things like, what's what? As far as things like people
Like
telling
sharing
me
their
a
stories.
telling me a story, it's a lot easier to read somebody who's in person than somebody who's on, say, YouTube and, can get a bunch of views and attention and, oh my goodness, look at this person.
Yeah, with all the hype.
Yeah. I don't really follow the hype train.
Hmm. But that being said, like, if someone were to confide in you and say, like, I had this experience when I was 5, you'd be more inclined to believe that that experience was genuine.
Yes, because that is more of a one-on-one, them telling me, I had this experience, I trust you enough to tell you about it. What do you think happened? And then I'm like, oh, well,
So, and then I guess the difference with me is that while, I'm not going to tell, that person that they're
you didn't
wrong,
have this experience.
obviously, like, I'm not going to say that their experience was fake or that they're lying to me, but I'll definitely lean on the side of, are you sure that's really what happened? Like, you were really young, maybe you dreamt it. Um, Not to be the one to like consistently put somebody down for their beliefs, as you know. Like, I'm not here to put you down for what you believe in, but more so just bring my objective sense of what my personal reality is as someone who just hasn't experienced these things.
Boy, oh boy, is she gonna love 6-year-old me.
So, but yeah, like that being said, it's easy for me to say I'm a skeptic because I haven't had these experiences that you say that you've had, for as long as you've been alive.
Yeah, and the thing with having those experiences is they're scary. They're absolutely terrifying, but I couldn't imagine my life without them. And times that I haven't had them have actually been more anxiety inducing than times that I do have them
That's
because I'm
really
so used to
interesting.
them.
Huh. See, like, and for me, obviously, if something was to start feeling, I don't know, extra supernatural in my day to day life and something starts fucking levitating.
Just have a levitating cat or something.
It's like, oh, no, I'm gonna go back to bed.
You wake up, it's still like that. You're just like, what do I do? And I'd be like,
Well,
well, it's
I
a
guess
levitating
I'm.
cat. I guess you should feed it.
It's like, well, I'm gonna call Arthur. But yeah, so like as somebody who's never had any crazy experiences, it's really easy for me to dismiss them. But I do try to attack that with a sense of logic rather than just being like, like no, you're lying to me, or waving off your experiences as just being false. I, for me personally, I'm so into this idea of what if. As much of a skeptic as I am, I will always err on the side of what I believe to be logical and scientific to explain things away before I just blindly accept that something happened. I'll very often, uh, you know, I love this concept of what if, and I'll be the first to admit that I can't know everything, being one
And
person.
I personally enjoy that you're the kind of person who goes, "Oh, but what if?" I love the curiosity in you. It's something where you'll ask me, "Well, what if it was this?" And then I can either dismiss it or confirm that it could have been that. I don't know. Because sometimes there have been times that you've gone, "Oh, well, what if it was this?" And I'll go, I'm not sure.
And
And
like
we'll
it's
actually sit
yeah,
down.
it's anything from like what if like that was some kind of hallucination or a trick of the light to like what else do you possibly think it could be? And I think that that's what's so nice about our back and forth and why I really wanted to start this podcast with you is like not only did I want to ask you all of these questions and I was so interested in the things that you have experienced in general, but just like in total of just wanting to like understand if these things are truly possible because who am I to say at the end of the day?
Well, that lightning sure was fun. We won't talk politics.
Oh no. Oh yeah, for those that don't know about the when those I believe police officers got hit by lightning after some witches apparently cast some kind of spell during the protests this past
Emma, you
summer.
say some witches. It was several hundred witches,
You know, I
all casting protection spells.
you know what? If that's the case, more power to them.
on a night that was like a really powerful moon. I don't.
You know, if you
Well, now
use
we're
your
just getting full out into it.
if you use your power to benefit people and humanity, I'm down. Like whether it's real or not, I'm down.
And honestly, that's not 100%, but a lot of the times what witchcraft is about is benefiting not just yourself, but other people. It's a give and take kind of thing.
So I guess that brings us into like my first real question of like what is a witch?
What is a witch? Well, a witch would be somebody who practices witchcraft. Um, but witchcraft is not a religion,
Okay.
and all religions have witches, but not all witches have religion.
Oh, that's really
Not
interesting.
not all
I
witches are. Sorry, go back on that. Uh,
But yeah,
not all
yeah.
witches are religious.
Okay, yeah. So, you know, when you said that all religions can have witches, you mean that like it doesn't matter what your faith is, you can still be a witch?
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
You can still perform witchcraft and be a witch without having a traditionally uh,
So you don't have to subscribe to a specific religion or faith in order to be a witch, but also that your religion or faith does not hinder you from being a witch, right?
yes, you do not have to be pagan and believe in any sort of pagan gods or goddesses in order to be a witch. You can be, although this is an odd thing I don't think I encounter too often, you could be a Christian witch.
Hmm.
You could be a Jewish witch. You could be
I feel
insert
like
other
a
religion
Catholic
witch.
I feel like a Catholic witch would be very far and few between.
But I do know of people who have other religions. I
Hmm.
don't know them directly, but I have friends who know them, and they're like, "Oh, I'm a witch, but also I'm of this religion."
I mean, so like from what I've always understood is like the witchcraft realm, like the community itself has always just been very accepting and like there's no gatekeeping.
That's one of my favorite things about witchcraft and witches in general is that whilst I know that a lot of religions, now witchcraft not being a religion,
Hmm.
but a lot of religious communities, there we go, will sit down and say, okay, I was Christian before, so I can only really
Right.
debate with Christian. You have to believe in one God, and you have to go to church every Sunday, as things that I was told as
Right. As
as
I'm
a
sure
child
like
when I wasn't with my
tons of
mother.
people, yeah. I myself being Jewish, but so I can only speak so much. But yeah, I'm assuming, you know, tons of Christian kids were given, you know, that same lecture, you know, go to church on Sunday.
Yeah, go to church on Sunday, be good, and
Here are 10 commandments.
yeah, here are like 10 commandments. Here's like a
Sometimes
bunch of other information. I've read the entirety of the Bible,
that is
so
something I have not done.
if anybody wants to talk to me about the Bible versus witchcraft, that's great. But mm, it's not a good debate to have with
Yeah,
me.
that's fair. That's fair. So, but like, so that being said,
But
because you were talking about like just communities as a whole being, you know, accepting.
yeah, witchcraft. So people who practice witchcraft, so witches, do not gatekeep. They do not have a specific thing that you need to do to be a witch. There are, of course, there's one or two things that'll be like, oh, that's a witch, but
Hmm.
it's like it's difficult to define exactly what what makes you a witch versus what makes you something else unless you know what the something else is.
Okay, yeah. So, but like when it comes to the defining features, like if for a Christian it's believe in one God and go to church on Sunday, like what are the main tenets of witchcraft? Like obviously there's tons of variables, but like if you had to like put it into you have to at least meet this criteria to be considered a witch in like mainstream communities. Is there something?
No, not really.
Really?
Um, I could give you examples of things that witches generally do, but it doesn't mean that you have to do these things.
So are you saying that anyone could then consider themselves a witch even if they don't practice witchcraft, or would you say that like at the very least you would have to practice witchcraft in order to be a witch?
You have to practice witchcraft in order to be a witch.
Okay, so like I guess that would be like the one defining characteristic, and then everything else is, up to personal interpretation.
So I defined witch, I didn't define witchcraft. So I'll tell you that that is the practice of magical skills, spells, abilities. It's a very broad term, and it will cover anything from Wiccan witches to babies in the broom closet. It's a very hard to define thing.
So in that case, so that's witches in general, but I know that you talked about how like witchcraft for you, being a witch for you, is different from Wicca, correct?
That is true because Wicca is religion, witchcraft is
Okay.
not.
So you can be Wiccan and a witch, but you don't have to be Wiccan in order to be a witch.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, so that makes sense.
Um, just to put another definition on the table and be a little dictionary,
By all means.
uh, Wicca is pagan witchcraft, uh, specifically in a religious sense.
Mhm.
Pagan witches usually follow all of the holidays, as I understand it, from an outside view, as I'm not pagan.
Mhm.
Uh, I only celebrate my goddess's holidays, and not traditionally either, as again, I'm not Wiccan, but I'm a heathen witch.
Okay, so do you want to go a little bit into detail about what that means? Cuz to me, it just sounds like you would be cast out of like the first church you walked into.
To be fair, I probably will be. That's why I haven't walked into one in many years.
Fair.
So, you want me to tell you what a heathen witch is?
Yeah, and then I'm assuming there's other types as well.
Yes. So, you already know what a witch is. I've described that one.
Yeah, I think we all
So,
get the general gist of just being a witch in general.
heathen would be any person that follows a modernized version of religious beliefs and practices of the Norse and other Germanic people, whereas traditional witches are more like, okay, there's like 60 witchcraft Wiccan holidays. I gotta celebrate every single one.
And like these are the tenants, and
Yeah, and that's all exaggerated. I'm not entirely sure if there's 60 or not. There's probably more. There might be less. Who
we
knows?
do not claim to
I
know
don't.
almost anything about paganism.
I know a decent amount about paganism,
Sorry, let me go over that one more time. I don't know anything about paganism.
and I don't know too much about Wicca. I just know how to be a witch.
So, all right. So, what are the like other kinds of witches then?
mm, it's a very long, 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 long list.
So, like, if you had to name like some of the main ones.
I guess I'd name. I used to be an eclectic witch. There's also nature witches, obviously heathen witches, green witches, hedge witches, elemental witches, kitchen
Mhm.
witches. You know, this list goes on.
So, first of all, that sounds so cool because there's like three of those that like me in a fantasy book I would love to be. I feel like Kitchen Witch is like peak cottage core aesthetic.
I feel like you would be a kitchen witch if you had the
I
options.
do enjoy cooking.
Honestly, I think that you would sit down and just be a kitchen witch. You'd be like, "Oh, this is witchcraft. I didn't know that."
I just put
And
on
I'd be
like
like,
a cute little apron that says "Kiss the Witch."
"Yeah." I just look at you and I'm like, Emma, you're practicing witchcraft. What are you doing? You're like, this is witchcraft?
I'm
That's just
I'm
cooking.
I'm making dude, I'm making a sandwich.
It's like, dude,
like
I'm making a sandwich.
like I'm making like some Alfredo sauce right now.
And I'm like, yes, but the spices you've specifically mixed in this way.
So there's like obviously like little traditions for like different kinds of witches in these like different, I guess, houses. Um, these major categories.
I like that
So
you said houses. We're not
yeah,
in Harry
yeah,
Potter.
this is in Hogwarts. But could it be?
No.
How accurate is Harry Potter?
I'll tell you. Zero.
Love it. Wasn't Harry Potter like? Isn't J.K. Rowling like a straight up Christian? I don't know that.
I don't know anything about her. I don't care.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I wouldn't trust her to talk about the reality of witchcraft.
I think she'd be hexed.
I mean, her main character like talks to snakes. I
I
don't
mean, you can
know.
talk to a snake. It's not going to talk back to you.
Sorry, her main character can understand snakes.
No, her main character can talk to snakes too.
Well, you know, it might
As
not
somebody
be.
who watches and reads Harry Potter,
Well, maybe in real life it wouldn't be that fruitful of a conversation, which you're not.
no, you would speak to the snake, and the snake would not speak back to you.
So I mean, like
You cannot understand the snake.
so there are like limitations of, you know, where fantasy meets reality in the sense of like witchcraft being this, you know, in everyone's mind, or at least in my mind, this like fantastical fantasy, you know, plot device more than anything else. So I guess like where is the line drawn between like the fantasy of like casting spells and flying on a broomstick, you know, like all of the stereotypical Halloween Harry Potter witch things.
I like that you've just implied that casting spells is fantasy.
Well, like in my head, I'm like imagining the wand, you know?
Oh, we do use wands.
All right, so basically, I know nothing, enlighten me.
We use wands, but not in the swish and flick.
It's Leviosa.
We're gonna get like copyright strike day one.
Would doing like a really shitty Hermione Granger impression constitute as a copyright strike?
I don't know. I don't want J.K. Rowling to like fucking find the first episode and just be like, "I'm suing you."
She just her reason for the copyright strike is it's Leviosa.
It's written on the document.
If you're gonna quote my character, do it correct.
Oh God.
So, all right, let's rein it back in. So, as I was saying, so the whole like, because you were talking about casting spells and wands and all of that. So, I guess like, how is the Hollywood version of that different from the reality?
Magical specks do not come out of the tip of my wand, I'll tell you that.
Damn, like that's honestly, you know, like that's the cool part, though.
The cool part is that things actually work.
If you say so.
Oh, fight me.
What? No.
When all of this hell is over.
Oof, 2020.
Yeah, 2020. Let's just date it. This is
Okay,
2020. The
could you
year of
cast a
hell.
spell to get rid of 2020?
No.
Because that would be amazing.
I'm pretty sure my goddess's powers do not extend to time.
Damn. But all right. So that being said, magical sparks not a thing.
Nothing.
Casting spells
Out of your wand.
out of
Not a
your wand.
thing.
Where else would it come out of?
Uh, I hate that I don't know what you're thinking. I hate that. Incense. That's the word.
Ah,
Incense.
okay, okay. Yeah,
I
yes.
have incense that
That
catches fire at
that
like.
was what I was thinking,
Oh, of course.
obviously.
I have
So,
incest that does incest. Oh boy,
oh
I have
no.
incest.
Oh no. All right, all right.
That's what's in my cauldron.
Oh god. Don't tell the witch police.
Is that a thing?
I don't know. You're the witch.
I guess the gods are the witch police.
I really hope the gods, aka the witch police, don't support incest. But then again, what do I know?
I
I feel like there's probably some obscure Norse god that's cool with it. I don't.
oh
I don't like that
oh
one.
honey,
I don't like that one. Moving on.
honey. I hate to break it to you, but there are gods that are not necessarily Norse gods or Celtic gods. It is every god.
Well,
And of course, there are gods that do support incestuous acts.
well, in that case, those gods are canceled.
Oh my
And
god, I
I
told you not to do that, and here you are.
can I cancel a god?
No, you can't!
Well, I'm not naming a god, so I doubt I'm gonna get like some divine wrath.
I mean, I think you have to do more than that to get some divine wrath,
I
but
feel like living in 2020 is already some divine wrath. All right, all right, all right. So, casting spells obviously is not in your belief and in your experience. Casting spells is not just like some Hollywood storybook thing.
that's not just a belief, that is absolutely 110%. Unless you mean like casting spells just in themselves, but as some Harry Potter bullshit, yeah, no.
So I guess like the idea is like the instant gratification of casting a spell in the fantasy context, like you cast a spell, there it is, like right in front of you.
No, there's almost no instant gratification 9 times out of 10, maybe even more times out of 10, to be honest. Uh, I'd say about 98% of the time I do not experience any sort of instant gratification when doing a spell. It takes a couple days or it takes a couple weeks. I'm usually asking for something that is going to take some time to
Mm-hmm.
receive. And in the meantime, there's a lot of prayer that goes on for me. There's a lot of thank you or please. There's a lot of offerings. Um, I'm not a people pleaser, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
very much not somebody who asks for things in like a please, 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 I need this.
Mm-hmm.
That changed when I met my goddess, but it's only her.
Right. So in your experience then, so when it comes to casting spells, it could be like a several day, week long process of communicating with your goddess through offerings.
It's not just through offerings. Offerings are things that I do as a means to kind of say thank you in a way.
Okay.
I
So,
I also give offerings of like, so when you're doing a spell, it's generally quite traditional to ask for something and then offer up something in return for that something.
okay. So
And
like
you have to
that give and
stick
take you
to
mentioned
it.
earlier.
Yes. So I could say, hey, Morrigan, I would like, I don't know, this piece of candy that I can never find.
Okay.
Um, and be like, I will go outside for 3 days and pick up rubbish in the morning at 3 a.m. And I would have to do that for 3 days and then hope that I find this thing. If I don't, that just means that the spell didn't work or the prayer didn't work and you got to do it again, or you have to go back and reflect on yourself and why you think it didn't work.
So I
Things
guess,
that are that simple,
yeah.
not really something I would talk to a goddess about,
Right.
but it's just as an example there.
Yeah. So I guess then what I would say to that, how I would counter that is like, if, if you did all of this, speaking to your goddess and asking for something and giving, what you had to give in return as like both like that, like the offering and like the thank you, but also just to like show that you're like keeping up like your end of this like symbiotic relationship, right? I
Hmm.
guess for me personally, I would just be like, well, if it didn't work, then, is it real at all? Like, have you actually had success?
I had quite a bit of success with your job, didn't I?
You can't speak now because I got fired.
That's a pandemic problem, not
Fine.
mine.
So, I mean, like, I guess just going into that, like, back when I was trying to get that job, or a job in general, being a year out of college and struggling, I'm sure so many people can relate to that. Because I do respect you, even if I don't believe everything, that you experience is, you know, the realest, most like thing in the world. I still,
It's difficult to believe. I understand that.
yeah, especially like as someone, who would prefer concrete evidence and proof, like, like how people test new drugs, like you need a control group, you like there are ways that science obviously is tested, there is a method, there's a hypothesis, and I guess what it would truly take to convince somebody is to test it. Like how would you, like you would have someone perform a spell in a control setting, and you would see like how long does it take, does it work, does something come from it, and if nothing comes from it, then I guess you would have to try again, and like you would have to weigh out the probability of it simply being like the randomness of the universe, or you know
Well, it's usually not try again. If it doesn't work, there's a reason it didn't work.
right, but then if it
But it's
does work,
very easy to pick out, for me, why a spell's not working.
so then I guess if it does work, my first thought is that just coincidence, the randomness of our universe, seeing what you want to see? Like if you're looking for something in life, it's, very often, once you, start looking for it, it shows up. And for me personally, that's for a lot of people, I'm sure it's just because you weren't focusing on it before, and you're focusing on it now. So maybe you didn't see it before, maybe it was there, but because
Right?
you're choosing, yeah, but because you're choosing to focus on it now you see it. It could have been there the whole time.
Let me throw this at you.
All right.
You don't do spells or ask gods or goddesses for things unless you've been looking for a long time already.
Hmm. So we were talking, just about, spells in general, right? And just like uh, what you've experienced when it comes to those like working out and actually like seeing a spell through to the end and actually getting what you asked for, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So has that happened for you? So I guess out of all of the spells that you've casted, like which was like the most like, this is why I believe in this moment?
Mm, that is a good question. There's a lot of spells. Um,
Or maybe just like a moment of you practicing in general that you were like, this is real to me. Like this was, even though you don't really seem like a person that needs proof the same way I do, but has there been like a moment to you that you've just been like, yes, this is just the validation that I needed to know that this is real, what I'm doing is a real thing?
Well, in my personal belief, I do not believe that anything that you're sitting down and practicing, especially with religion, needs to be proven to yourself or anyone else. I can sit down and say, okay, in order to prove to me that you're real, to like a god,
Hmm.
make my refrigerator stop making that awful noise right now. Didn't happen.
Fair.
I,
I would know because I can still hear it.
yeah, no, it didn't happen, and it's not going to happen until it decides to shut off.
So I guess to me, like, if I was
But I can tell you what my I love that I keep interrupting you too. I can tell you what specific spell was maybe the most influential to me.
sure, but just to finish what I was gonna say real quick, for me personally, if I was able to be like, you know, if like turn off the light if you're real, if you're here, which I think is more of like a ghost hunting thing than anything else.
You watching too many ghost hunting YouTube videos.
Listen, they're fun. But like that's the thing for me that would be like, okay, yeah, I can see how, this is a real thing. Like here is some supernatural, whether it's a deity or a force or a spirit that is able to affect the real world, because I mean that is, the definition, like a loose definition of belief in something tangible, is that this can have, an effect.
It's
What you're putting out will have an effect.
it's spiritual energy coming together to have one of those visual effects. Um,
But I will say, knowing me, that even if I did say, if there is a ghost or a deity or whatever, turn off the lights and my lights just like shut off, I'd still say,
oh, that's just a
hmm.
power outage.
Yeah, they're like, wow, what a weird brownout. And you know what? To me personally, I wish that I had more of a belief in it. Like, I wish I didn't feel so jaded that my first response is to say, well, what can I just attribute this to being instead? Maybe it's just like where I feel most comfortable. Like, maybe, like attributing, that kind of phenomenon to a spirit just makes me really uncomfortable. And that could honestly be a part of it. But
Because
also,
it's the unknown,
well, yeah, and I will tell you, I do have a fear of the unknown, for sure. I've known that for a really long time.
which is one of the many reasons that if I could take you to any spiritual realm myself, I would not,
Yeah,
because
no,
you'd have a
don't.
heart attack and die.
Okay, question. Is that a thing that you could do
What, taking someone there?
to a spiritual? Okay, wait, back up. Spiritual realm, define.
Now, here I thought we were just going to stick to witchcraft
No, no,
for this
no. Okay,
episode.
okay. But like now I need to know, do you mean like a physical place
I mean, a physical plane of existence.
that I'm assuming you can or you have been able to travel to?
Several times accidentally.
Cool.
Did I enjoy it? Is the next question. No.
All right, that definitely sounds like a topic for another episode. Um okay. That is way too much to dive into since we're already like so far into this episode.
Yeah, no, you cannot dive into that with me because that will not stop. That is like several episodes in and of itself.
See, and like that's a thing.
You'll have
Like
to spread it
I
out.
swear, every time I talk to you, I hear something else that you've experienced that like I can't even fathom.
Good news
Like,
for you, haven't experienced anything strange yet.
I mean, part of me is like there's like that one like weird part of me that's jealous that I've never experienced something like this, but then the other part of me that's like, oh, you would shit your pants if you experienced something like this.
And I grew up with a mother who's a witch, around all of this stuff. And
Right.
like,
Cuz like,
I grew up with these abilities already, and I was like,
and
this is
you
really
did
freaky.
remind me, did you
And
grow
then
up
it
in
just,
a haunted house?
where the hell did you get that one
I
from?
don't know. I could just be mixing up random YouTube videos in my head. I know that you have experienced supernatural things near your house or one of the houses that you've lived in. I guess that doesn't necessarily constitute as a haunting.
No, that is not a haunting. And a haunted house usually implies one or more supernatural beings that you do not know that are haunting the area. I did grow up with my grandfather's ghost, which is a common thing for most people that believe in ghosts to sit down and go, oh, my grandmother died in this house and her ghost spirit is still here. Or, oh, my 3 year old said that they were talking to great grandpappy when they don't even know what he looks like and they explained everything about him.
You know, those stories, like, those are the ones that get me the most, that make me really question things. Like when it's a kid and they tell you, like, this crazy thing that like they had no idea of knowing. I think those are the stories that pull me in the most. But you know, if I'm watching a video, again, in the back of my mind, I'm asking myself, was this scripted? Is this real? Were they feeding this kid, you know, lines? Like, again, like I would, as much as I love being like sucked into those stories, because I really do, I find them absolutely fascinating, which is why I love talking to you about this stuff so much. But again, it's that nagging thought in the back of my mind of how, like, how could I ruin this for myself, basically?
How could I ruin this for everyone involved?
Obviously. And I mean, like, obviously, I don't want to be the killjoy. Like, that's the last thing I want to be, which is why, like, I'll be the first to say, you know, I respect you, you know, in what you do.
Well,
I've
thank you. I respect you too.
Well, of course. And I mean, like, we've been friends for such a long time. And, like, that's why I let you, you know, do my tarot and why, you know, I take what you have to say seriously, whether I believe, you know, your deity or the spirit of the cards or whatever someone wants to, you know, explain.
Spirit of the
I don't
cards.
know.
God.
But, you
Card
know,
decks do have personalities, I'll give you that one, but they don't have spirits.
well, or like whatever supernatural force you believe is, you know, exerting their uh I guess omnipotence or whatever if you're doing like a divination through tarot.
I think you're looking way too far into tarot.
I'm looking too far into everything. That's what I do.
Tarot is not an omnipotent force. Tarot is an extension of your own abilities and interpreting your readings via um, those magical abilities that you already possess. So it's your own magic going into the deck. Um,
I mean, we're also going to have a whole episode on tarot as well. So like
I'm not
don't
going to go super into it. I'm
yeah.
just going to say it's your own energy going into the deck that creates the magic of the deck, not some deity, not some omnipotent force, and then you have to pull out the cards and read them yourself and know what's going on. Currently, I have a baby witch who's struggling with tarot. I've been giving him advice on how to fix it, but it's a difficult medium sometimes if you get a difficult deck.
Mm.
He's working with Egyptian gods, and they're not my cup of tea. It's more not my realm of expertise.
Not my cup of deity. I'll leave
Oh, I'm
now.
gonna stab you. You don't get to leave. You're dying on the spot. I'm
No.
sacrificing
Oh
you.
god, no. All right. Reeling it back in though, because I think I had a thought earlier that I don't think I quite finished. But like, because I mentioned, you know, that I did go to you at one point during my job search a few months back before, you know, everything in 2020 really, you know, went to shit. But just because, you know, I was really struggling. I've been looking for a job for such a long time And I just decided, like, hey, my very good friend does tarot. I think tarot is cool. And who knows, maybe like I'll get a different perspective. And like that's
And I've
really
had like 4 jobs.
listen, this isn't a competition.
I just walk in. I don't even get fucking. I don't get
All
interviews.
right, all right. First of all,
I want an interview. I
first of
feel
all,
cheated.
I'm talking about like true career path stuff, like post, college. I've had, my fair share of minimum wage jobs, but that being said, that is so off topic. But, but really back into tarot, it was me coming to you not because I relied on you and your divination skill. It was more so of just like, I need a different perspective. Maybe I'm going about this wrong. And like, maybe you have something to offer me, some insight that I haven't
Oops.
thought of, you know?
And you were, and I gave you that via those cards. And then I read your tarot, and then I said, Emma, are you doing this? And you were like, yeah, I've been approaching it kind of like this. And I was like, stop that then.
And I listened to you not just because, tarot and divination, but I listened to you because I value your opinion as my friend. So I honestly feel like, when it comes to all of this, at least the way that on my end and how I approach, your, witchcraft, whether, I know it's more than a hobby. I'll say that. Obviously, it's much more than just like a hobby for you or like some party trick. I know that. But, at this
I'm not your boyfriend. It's not a party trick.
yes, my boyfriend occasionally does tarot for fun, but it's for me, it's just like I respect you as a person, whether, I don't think you're crazy. As much of a skeptic as I am, I'm not going to say that you're insane because you practice witchcraft and you believe these things that I don't. I
Look,
just,
I'm
yeah.
sorry to interrupt you, but at the end of this entire podcast, heaven knows when it will end, I generally, like, okay, genuinely, if you prove to me that witchcraft is false, my beliefs are false, everything I've seen is false, I'll go check myself into a more intense therapy session.
You know, maybe that'll be the final poll on our Patreon. Should Arthur get more psychiatric help?
I can only have 2 sessions of therapy before they commit me each week, so
Who knows? Maybe we'll uncover something through all this.
I get committed to a psychiatric facility.
Well, like just for like the clarity of, our audience. Like this was, a conversation that I have brought up to you in the past. Like I was concerned at one point because you were telling me that you were seeing certain things. And my first thought was like, oh God, like, are you hallucinating? Are you okay? And I mean, you
You
took,
asked if I was schizophrenic or if I was hallucinating in some way, what's going on.
and
And
like,
so
obviously,
you wanted me to talk to my therapist about it. And I
but
said,
like,
okay.
but like, yeah, just to clear the air, like, obviously, I don't think schizophrenic people are crazy or like anything like that. But
No, 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 no. This was just a,
it came from
a
a
jump
place
to
of,
conclusion.
yeah, but if anything, it came from a place of like genuine concern. Like, has your therapist, talked to you about, like, have you mentioned this stuff to your therapist? And I'm
I've mentioned it all to my therapist.
And apparently, like as you told me, which I believe you, is that your therapist told you that it's not hallucinations as far as they can tell. It's not schizophrenia, which I mean, put my concern at ease. It's still a matter of whether or not I believe it, but at least now I'm not like fearing for your sanity.
She seemed to be like a lot of people where they're like, I'm religious in a different way. If this is what you're seeing and this is the kind of things that you believe, then that's okay as long as you're not harming yourself or others. And that was kind of the end of the discussion, really.
So, yeah, and I felt like that was a base. Like, first of all, you did not have to prove that to me. You did not have to follow through on that. And the
No,
fact
I didn't.
But I mean, like the fact that you did obviously just shows like first of all, like our relationship as a whole, that you didn't
Yeah, how
take
much
it.
I love and appreciate you, and just go, oh gosh, she's actually worried. Let me go make sure, absolute certain that
Yeah,
I'm okay.
right. Because, like, let's say, that it was, something scary, some kind of hallucination. You know, first of all, even if it was, it's, I can only say so much as your friend. Like, I can't force you to say anything to your therapist, and I wouldn't, it's not my place. But I mean, like the fact that you decided to do that on your own accord, I think shows like just how much you're willing to have these kinds of conversations and like you're not easily offended, which is something that I so appreciate about like these like little debates of ours. More than anything is just the fact that we can have these open conversations and we know like at the end of the day that no matter what comes from it, that we still respect each other and we still appreciate each other as friends, and there's definitely like nothing to worry about on that sense. And obviously if I ever overstep a boundary, like you'll tell me, but I can
There was one
always,
time
yeah.
I didn't tell you and felt guilty about it for several days, and then told you.
So yeah, I mean, and I guess I'm just saying this to clear the air to the audience because I don't want to come off as like some kind of asshole that's constantly trying to like put you down. Like obviously, because like this just as well as I do, that I'm just, if anything, I'm just curious and I just want to have a cool debate.
She is a curious being who wants a debate that's cool. I like debates and wanted to be a defense lawyer as one of my three main career paths. So,
So there you go. I guess I have one question that I wanted to wrap up with,
oh,
and that was, so outside of me, like in your general day to day, do people take you seriously, your experiences, the stories that you've confided in them? Like obviously, like I respect you even though I might not believe it, but like how do other people react?
I'll tell you a story about my landlord for that one.
Ooh,
So, part of my witchcraft does include burning things. Um,
arson.
no, that is a different thing.
Oh, okay, please continue.
Although, again, my baby witch friend calls it arson when they even just light a like flick a lighter. It's really funny,
I
but
light a candle,
it's not.
call it arson.
Yeah, basically, and I'm just like, it's not arson. You idiots! I love you. Um, but continuing on that, it involves burning things sometimes, such as incense or a slip of paper. Um, I won't go in depth to spells again because we're wrapping up.
Yeah.
But I spoke up about it because I went, this is like a no smoke building and I don't want to be like disrespectful. And I was like, hey, so I'm a witch. Is it okay if I practice witchcraft? Her response was, as long as you don't cast a hex on me, we're good.
I mean, that's fair.
I was laughing. I was like, do not worry, I will not cast a hex on you. And she's like, then you can practice witchcraft in the building. And I was like, cool.
Unless you cross me. And then you give like a really ominous, like, holier than thou glance
I
and like
was
walk off.
signing the contract. That's not a good time to be ominous.
No, like you sign the lease and then you say psych and then you cast the hex.
I already paid it.
Can you sign the lease and cast a hex that makes it so you get your money back?
That's not how hexes work.
I don't. Do I look like I know how hexes work?
Yes, you cast them all the time.
Obviously.
But other than like my landlord, and that was me bringing it up to her.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a necklace that my mother gave me that has a pentacle on it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly the same thing that our podcast intro stuff has.
Right.
And it's a raven. Extra points if you can guess who my goddess is.
I think you said it at some point. during the video.
Extra points if you remember.
Extra points if you can find it.
um, but I have this necklace on almost all the time now. My mother got it for me,
Hmm.
and she just looked at it and went, "You have to have this," and it's great. But if somebody came up to me and said, "Are you a witch?" just because they saw this,
Hmm.
I'd say yes, because I'm not lying. I'm
Right.
not gonna be like, "No, I'm not a witch."
So it's like not some.
This,
It's obviously
it's
not
for
something that
edge.
you're ashamed of, you know.
No, not at all. Um,
I guess
but I've never had anybody actively just come up to me and go, "Are you a witch?" Except online, I've had a couple people just go, "Are you a witch?" And I just kind of look at them and go, "Yeah, why?"
I mean, has anyone ever like you're telling them a story, like
But those
maybe
are other witches.
right, but I mean like people that might be more skeptic than, or like maybe they're religious but they're skeptic about, witchcraft and the supernatural. Like has anyone ever like just said like you're crazy, you know?
No, nobody's ever just said I'm crazy.
Well, I mean, that's
If
for the
anything,
best.
I've thought I'm more crazy than other people have, and that's concerning.
So, I mean, like, I'm sure like there are a lot of people out there that practice witchcraft and maybe like their parents are very religious or their family is disapproving. You know, I
And if they're hiding it, we call those witches in the broom closet.
that's cute. Um So yeah, I guess like one of my, concerns as your friend is like, do people, I guess discriminate is a very strong word. Like obviously no one's going to bar you from entry to like a restaurant if they find out that you're a witch. But like,
I would fucking start dying.
sorry, we don't serve your kind here. It's like
I'd be like, what? Gay? Trans? No, witch. Oh shit.
oh no. But like, like I hear stories all the time of people being like, I saw, like, I swear I saw, this supernatural thing. I saw a ghost and everyone said I was crazy.
I've seen way too many ghosts and I don't like seeing them. They're terrifying.
So, but yeah, I mean, like, it's a good thing that people don't jump to that conclusion, of just like pulling the "you're crazy" card. Because I mean, like, it's not obviously it's not just witchcraft. I mean, like, very religious people, I'm sure, get that as well.
Yeah. And I've got one neighbor who actually lives right next door to me. She is Jehovah's Witness.
Hmm.
And I think they get a bad rap quite often, specifically just for the ones that go door to door.
Yeah.
I was given a pamphlet and like politely offered like a Bible and things like that, and I just had to write her and say I'm sorry, I don't wish to talk about spirituality with you, but I appreciate what you've done and that you're willing to invite me into your religion and things like that. I was very respectful about it. I am not a Jehovah's Witness,
Hmm.
but that does not make them invalid.
And I think like that is like a really good closing thing to end on, especially for the first episode. Like no matter what your religion is or what your belief system is, like as long as you're not like harming anybody with it, I would hope that you're not, like you're more than welcome like into our little audience. And I hope like people come into like our comment sections and start conversations and like on our Discord, like coming from different backgrounds, like whatever you happen to be, like as you said before, like there's no gatekeeping. And whether you are, a skeptic or a believer, whichever side that you tend to lean towards, you know, I want healthy debate, the same way that Arthur and I can have these conversations between each other and respect each other at the end of the day. I hope that you guys can as well.
I should hope that they're healthy, respectful debates and that we try to respect each other as not just religious people, non religious people, spiritual people, and skeptics, but also as just people.
Yeah, I mean, like, every person deserves respect. Like I said, unless if you are malicious, like, you are more than welcome here. And yeah, I think that that might actually be like a really good sentiment to end on for our first episode.
Yeah.
So there is obviously so much more to unpack here, and I cannot wait to continue having these amazing conversations with you.
I can't wait to tell you all of the stories and all of the information I
Yeah,
have.
no, we're definitely coming back to that realm thing. All right, guys, I think that just about does it for today. Hope you have a lovely day.
Thank you for listening.